Misinformation has been an exponentially increasing issue within America. With these pressing issues comes questions from the people. Today we have Professor Oxford from Stanford University to answer these questions. Welcome, Professor. How you doing?
Hey, Dallin. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
According to the article, students have dismaying inability to tell fake news from real. Study finds. Who do you think is at fault for the spread of fake news? Students or news outlets?
Well, it's not entirely the news outlet's fault. We can't expect every news outlet to be honest and publish authentic news, nor can we enforce it. Therefore, the responsibility should lie upon those who read the news, being the consumer.
In your expertise, do you think your students fact check the news before consuming?
The honest and discouraging answer is no. In the same article, a study found that most college students didn't suspect potential bias in a tweet from an activist group, and most Stanford students couldn't identify the difference between mainstream and fringe sources. We are talking about students who attend one of the most prestigious universities in America not being able to discern truth from the faulty information. If these students can be deceived, so can the rest of the population.
With all due respect, do you think tech companies such as Google, Meta, and Bing should hold accountability for misinformation being spread to consumers on their platforms, or should consumers be responsible?
Well, of course, there should be a collective fight against misinformation and fake news in an ever-growing technological society. That being said, Google, Meta, and other tech companies should tread carefully on the topic of censorship within their platforms. Instead of blocking out misinformation from their platforms, the tech companies should incorporate tools that can assist consumers on fact-checking and flag potential fake news on their platforms to incentivize the consumers to fact-check those particular posts before spreading them, such as the tools mentioned in Google rolls out new fact-check tool worldwide to combat fake news.
What is your opinion on Meta completely removing the fact-checking program? What effects can occur as a result?
While I believe this is an overall discouraging announcement from Meta, which will result in an increase in misinformation, I also believe this gives the consumer the chance to start fact-checking themselves, instead of being mouth-fed the truth. Regardless if Meta fact-checks for the consumer or not, there are many ways the consumer can fact-check for themselves, as stated in Fake and Real, how to self-check the news and get the facts. Consumers should be paying attention to domains and URLs, looking at what quotes and evidence the posts are using, checking comments, and finding the origin of images if applicable.
In today's society, it is well known that non-mainstream journalists implement bias when writing an article. What are some options to get around this issue?
I believe that regardless where you are finding your information, you should always be lateral reading.
Can you expand on what lateral reading is? Why is it important when fact-checking?
To put it simply, lateral reading is the act of checking the credibility of sources by comparing it to others. Doing so will allow the observation of multiple points of views on the same topic or issue.
This is NPR with Ethan Oxford from Stanford University. Thank you, Ethan, for being here.
Thank you for having me.